Thanks for coming. This is an incredibly exciting day. We started in 1829, and as some of you know, when we started, we were the first school for the blind in the United States. Braille had not come to the States yet. There were no books. There were no teachers. Had never been anyone educated any place in the world who was deaf and blind. And for the last 183 years, Perkins has been the cutting edge of providing services. We started with a few kids in our campus downtown. We moved here 100 years ago. This year we have about 210 adorable, interesting, challenging students on campus, day and residential. And while we continue to love and respect our students on campus, over the last 183 years, we've grown and diversified. So we operate the Braille and Talking Book Library. We have a lot of products, and you're going to hear about one very exciting product in a few minutes. We operate in 67 countries, starting schools, growing schools. We work with babies. We're in the teacher training business. We have a big online education business. We're involved with a variety of advocacy issues. So Perkins School for the Blind has grown. And over the past several years, more and more people have been asking us, why is a, quote, School for the Blind involved with this wide range of initiatives? So we spent about a year talking with parents and students and trustees and other stakeholders and asking, does our name reflect our future? As we think about that, because we honor and value our legacy, Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan and so much of what has happened, but we also have to be prepared for the future. And the needs of folks who are blind and visually impaired and deafblind continue to change. And for Perkins to be a leader, we have to continue to do that. So we did a survey, and it found that 70% of our stakeholders felt, in fact, that there might be another way to communicate our name as we look at that. So what we're doing today is announcing something that's happened 4 other times in the 183 years of adapting our name. We started in 1829 as a New England institution for the education of the blind. Then in 1839 it was changed, and I'm just reading these. I'm not making value judgments on the politically incorrectness of the words. Perkins Institution and Asylum for the Blind. In 1877, the name was changed Perkins Institution and the Massachusetts School for the Blind. And then in 1955, it changed to Perkins School for the Blind. So I would like to ask Fred Clifford, the chair of our board, and Corinne Grothwick to stand and help me as I lift this and kind of show our new name, and then we'll talk about that in just a second. So if you can help me to lift this, come on over here. And then we'll put that down. And so our new name, sometimes what's best is the simplest, is simply Perkins. And within that, there are many divisions within Perkins, and these will continue to grow. So there is today, and will always be, a Perkins School for the Blind, as we honor the students on our campus. There will also be Perkins e-learning, Perkins products, Perkins International, Perkins Library, and I predict over the next decade this list will continue to grow and evolve. So we'll put this down. Thank you, Fred. And to kind of talk about this impact from kind of one perspective, I'd like to ask Corinne Grothwick to come up, who is a parent and also a member of our board and chair of the trust board, to talk for a few minutes. Corinne?
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, everyone, for attending today. I want to underscore your statement about this being an exciting day for Perkins, but it's not really just an exciting day for Perkins. We know it's an exciting day for hundreds and thousands of unserved and underserved children who are blind around the world, and for their parents and their teachers, too. You see, it's always been Perkins' mission to serve students who are blind and deafblind. And this unwavering commitment has resulted in developing and delivering really the gold standard of blind education. Until now, serving this constituency has been hampered by limited resources and geography. But with the introduction of technology, Perkins is now able to scale and grow exponentially. This is indeed a new chapter in Perkins' storied history. My son Campbell was born in California 20 years ago. Early on, he was diagnosed with something called Leber's congenital amaurosis. It's a condition I still can't pronounce or spell. Imagine being told your newborn is blinded by a disease that seems to only exist in the medical dictionaries. I had so many questions and nowhere to find answers. It's hard to remember a time before the internet, but indeed, locating any information about his condition or resources to help me help him was nearly impossible. Through luck and serendipity, I stumbled upon a pamphlet published by a place called Perkins School for the Blind. It demonstrated how to teach a blind toddler to use utensils. Not an easy task when it's much easier to use your hands. It was written in a way that clearly demonstrated that this school is the authority on teaching blind children, and I clearly was not. It was then and there that Wick and I decided we need to move our son to wherever this school existed in order to give our son the best education and the possibility of leading a full and independent life. That was the best decision we've ever made. Campbell is now thriving. He's not only mastered reading and writing in Braille, but he passed the English portion of the MCAS. And I have to say that one of the biggest frustrations of being a parent of a child who's blind is that unless you know how to teach Braille or unless you know Braille, you can't show them their letters. You can't show them how to spell their name. You can't point to something in the environment and say, what letter does that start with? There's so much incidental learning that doesn't go on. So the kids who come to Perkins start with a big handicap because the parents don't really know how to teach the language of literacy that they need to learn to succeed in this world. He's learning to live independently, navigating his way with a cane, doing laundry, even preparing meals. The introduction of technology has accelerated his learning and improved his quality of life and independence immeasurably. And while I'm forever grateful our journey led us to Perkins, I'm equally thankful that parents of blind newborns won't have to move here just to get their child the best education. Through outreach, teacher training, e-learning, and revolutionary new products, such as the one you're going to see today, parents and teachers worldwide now have the resources available to deliver the gold standard of education where they live. As a board member, I'm proud to be part of such a benevolent organization. This isn't just a school committed to educating students on campus. This is a community dedicated to touching the lives of each and every child who needs our help. With its emphasis on Braille, Perkins is safeguarding literacy to guarantee it continues to be taught and promoted to ensure more opportunities and vocations for the blind. So rather than remaining status quo, or worse yet, closing like so many other schools, Perkins is reimagining products and expanding its mission to serve more children in more places more effectively. And here are some of the other ways Perkins is leading the world in Braille advocacy. Our international division helped establish the Braille Council of Ghana and partnered with the Kilimanjaro Blind Trust to develop standards for materials, distribute Braillers, and promote Braille literacy throughout Africa. Perkins is helping revise the World Braille Usage, basically a reference manual with every Braille code, something I could use in it. It's the first update in 22 years. Perkins Library circulates one of the largest Braille collections in the country. And our Braillers make up nearly 80% of the market for all the mechanical Braillers around the world, parts for which are still manufactured right here on our campus. So Perkins Products continues to expand its own line of products, including the new device we're going to show you today. So please enjoy this short video of the revolutionary new Smart Brailler.
Gee, great job! Perkins Smart Brailler.
Braille the letter Y. Y, well done. Next question.
This is a Windows computer basically on the front of this Brailler.
The Perkins mission as a whole is to expand Braille literacy. Being able to read and write Braille is really about being literate.
Everything we do is finding a tool to communicate with others, and so this Smart Brailler really ties into that.
But also as a parent or a teacher who's supporting that child. And what we found was they need that screen, they need that window into Braille to decode Braille.
Braille the letter Y. W. Sorry. Try again. Y. Well done.
The first time I saw an adult who was blind that was afraid of learning Braille actually touched the keys and heard the Perkins Smart Braille speak back the letters. He had a smile on his face. That fear just kind of fell away. Obstacles to learning just kind of evaporated.
The confidence that it gave the children, the teachers were saying, they would see them type on the Braille keys and get that instantaneous feedback, and the children would just light up because the Smart Braille was telling them they got the right answer.
This is awesome, huh?
No, this is awesome.
To learn more, visit us at smartbrailer.org.
So we're just going to do a brief demo here of the Perkins Smart Brailler. At the core of the Brailler, like you saw, is that mechanical Brailler. So it creates this tactile embossed Braille on the page, which is so important for someone, whether you're a child or an adult who is blind, to have that instant tactile feel on the paper. And what we've done with the Perkins Smart Brailler is infuse this mechanical device. Thank you. I'm going to have to demonstrate. So it's okay. Thank you. Infuse this mechanical device with software and electronics to create this truly Braille learning technology. So now that children and adults can learn Braille using all their senses, and the sight that they have, their touch, and also listening. And we've used duck spray as the Braille translation software, so that is what translates the stroke of the Braille keys to what you're seeing on the screen. And we're also using a cappella as the text-to-speech output, which gives audio output. So I'm just a quick demonstration here for you.
ABC, A, B, C, ABC, C, A, T, cat.
So as you see, you're getting voice feedback and also feedback on the screen here. And what this really allows is obviously for someone who's learning Braille, an easier way to learn Braille, but also for that parent or that mainstream teacher who perhaps doesn't know Braille, they can now sit alongside that child and be more immersed into that Braille learning kind of atmosphere and environment. And they can become more engaged with their student in learning Braille, which before was such a hard thing to do. As Corinne so nicely said, as a parent, it's so hard to teach a child Braille or to be more engaged in their learning if you yourself don't know Braille. So this one allows them to be more involved in that learning, but also as a parent, you can also imagine yourself kind of learning Braille on your own when your child goes to bed and sitting perhaps with the Smart Brailler and kind of playing around with it and getting the concepts a lot easier. So that's really the magic of it, is that voice output and the output on the screen. There's a lot of other great features on the Smart Brailler. One in particular is that of saving files. So you're obviously getting your Braille output, instant Braille output, but what you're also creating is an electronic file. And this is a text file. So this text that I have here, ABC Cat, that is being saved electronically. And you can save it to the internal memory of the Smart Brailler, or you can import a USB flash drive into this USB outlet here. And that will save as a .txt file. So you can take that text file and transfer it to a computer. So you can imagine a mainstream teacher in the classroom with a student who's blind, perhaps doing a spelling test. The student can now do the spelling test on the Brailler. The mainstream teacher can look on the screen as to what they're spelling, but can also extract that file from the Smart Brailler and look at that text file on their computer. There's also editing features. So on this Brailler, there is a button on top which will both erase the Braille on the page, but also erase whatever text it is on the screen. I can demonstrate that right now.
C, A, T, T, A, press T, K.
And you'll see I've now erased the T both on the electronic file and on the Braille page. Also on the display module, you have your headphone jack, which during our user testing, that was something the teachers definitely asked for. We want the headphone jack for the classroom use. There's a volume control on the side here. Turn this around, up and down. And this display screen actually pivots backwards and forwards. And that allows you to reach the margin guides in front, which is important, as many as you know, if you're creating a document, to adjust the margins. And then along the side here, we have what we call quick key buttons. Features that came up during user testing, the teacher said, we want quick access to these types of things. So the first one is turning the screen on and off.
Screen on.
Again, that was directly from teachers who said, some of our students have some sight, but we don't want them relying on that to learn their Braille. We want them to really hone in on their tactile skills. So that was there so they could turn it off whenever they need to. The next one down
Large print.
changes it to large print mode. So this erases what we call the simulated Braille, or sim Braille, along the top of the screen, and makes the print a lot larger for a student who has some vision to use the larger print.
Sim Braille.
And then the third key down, this switches between uncontracted mode and contracted mode. So in Braille, there's a term called contracted Braille or grade 2, and this is essentially the shorthand. So for example, K in contracted Braille means knowledge, AB means about. And children learn these contractions at different paces. So we wanted to make sure it was easy for a child or an adult who's learning Braille to switch back and forth between contractions at their leisure. So I'm going to switch, I'm in contracted now.
C, can. G, go.
And then again, I'll switch back again to uncontracted.
Go. Uncontracted Braille. C.
And then the last button down here changes the amount of speech feedback you get. So you can imagine for someone just learning Braille, they might want the Smart Brailler to say everything, letters, words, full lines. For someone who's a little bit more proficient, who's a little bit faster at Brailing, they might just want it to say the line or turn the speech off altogether. They don't need that instantaneous feedback. So that's a feature here.
Speak everything. Speech off. Speak letters. Speak words. Speak lines. Speak everything.
And then on the right side here, there's a series of buttons, a small round button to the right of the screen, and then a navigational cluster. And this small button allows you to enter the menu. And this is where you access a lot more of the features of the Smart Brailler. So this is where you would go and save a file, or open a file, or delete a range of files that you might have there. You can also set up different users. So if you're an itinerant teacher traveling throughout the state with different students, you can have each student save settings to their own username, whether they like a certain voice, or they want it in a certain language, or they want a certain color on the screen. They can save all those settings.
Users, apps.
And then apps, this is something very exciting that the Smart Brailler kind of provides. Like we said earlier, it's built off of a Windows CE platform. So that really opens the door for us as far as software goes. And what we've done with APH, American Printing House, is develop a software application that complements the Building on Patterns kindergarten series. And this is a Braille learning series that many schools use in teaching young children Braille. And this application is not meant to replace that curriculum, but more reinforce what the teacher is teaching in the classroom and allow the child to have some independent learning and practicing on their own. And we've had a lot of teachers using these exercises in their classrooms, and it's doing exactly that. They can teach, one section of the book and then have their students go and do these exercises. And it just gives the students so much more confidence in being able to do some of their learning on their own. So I'll show you an example of this now.
Kindergarten. Building on Patterns Kindergarten. User. Instruct modulate. Modulate.
So there's 3 types of exercises. There's a letter exercise, a word exercise, which is essentially contractions, and then a sentence exercise.
Description. Letter exercise 1. Letter exercise 1. Start. Braille the letter G. G. Well done. Next question. Braille the letter Y. A. Sorry. Try again. E. Try again. Here is a hint. Dot 1.
She's intentionally getting them wrong.
Yes.
Just in case.
Y. Well done.
And it takes you through, there is 8 questions in this exercise. At the end, it will give you a score, and the teacher can then go back and review the scores afterwards.
Braille the letter. Exercise, pause, skip, relief, quick exercise, letter exercise, modulate, building.
And we are going to be launching with 2 versions. One version through Perkins products, and also another version that will ship through APH, and will be on the quota system. The version through Perkins, we're very excited, we'll have a range of languages on the unit. We're actually working with different countries right now to literally localize the Smart Brailler to those different countries, and we have about 8 that we're working on. France, Germany, Spain, and a host of others in Western Europe. And that is really translating everything to their native Braille code. So it's taking the native Braille codes of their countries and infusing it with the voice output and the Braille translation that we need to do. And then with the APH version, we'll be shipping with these building on patterns exercises already on the unit. And for the Perkins version, you'll be able to purchase the building on patterns applications and incorporate them onto your unit.
Main menu.
And then the last thing you'll see here, we're actually operating on a battery. It does power into the AC adapter, but we're operating on a battery right now that lasts about 6 hours. So we're seeing it last the time in a classroom, which is great for the student use. So we're going to be doing demos out in the area out there, so you're all welcome to come and have a go on your own and test it out.
Well, thank you, Laura. Thank you. So this technology is a great example of Perkins moving forward and why the new name. Whether it be an amazing building like this, where yesterday alone we had an internet radio station for kids in public schools. They were doing their own shows. And in this room, there was an adaptive horticulture class that people flew in from 20 states for training. So literally, that was just yesterday in this building. So this building has opened up all kinds of new vistas for us. This technology is an example of promoting Braille literacy, and these are emblematic of why we're adapting our name. So while we honor our history and our legacy, we believe we're just getting started.